I like to keep things fresh. I like to keep things new. That's why I'm in technically three industries, real estate, weddings, and commercial corporate kind of work, just to keep things different instead of stagnant. Because even though weddings are great, they can be great, but they're not always
Mhm.
great. Even though real estate could be great, but it's not always great. And so it's just I like to mix things up a little bit, keep things alive. Profits are great, but if you don't treat people as it's sort of like the golden rule mixed with, ever heard of the platinum rule?
For me, the balance is taking a litmus test of my life at that given moment, right? So it's, am I happy right now? Are the things that are going on feeding my greater purpose of what I'm trying to do? Do I feel super stressed? And then just trying to measure what I do from that perspective. Everybody gets hung up on the planning part of something. Like they're like, I'm going to try to make sure everything is just so, right? That box is so square, you couldn't find a loose edge on it at all. And that's not how this works. The little thing about me is I have a really hard time quitting. I was brought up that quitting is not an option. And I don't mean that from a very kind of like overruling parent perspective, but more so that quitting is the easy way out of things. Something Tom Hanks said, he goes, things going great or things going terribly bad, this too shall pass. Every failure I've ever had, I just have to try to remind myself that it's only going to last so long
Yeah.
before the next one comes around the corner.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of my Business Story Podcast with your host, Johnny Perez. It's me. Today we have an amazing guest by the name of Steve Alves. He is the co-owner of Attention Trading. He has 15 years worth of experience in technology, marketing. He's a dog dad, and he's a resident nerd at his home and most other places, I assume. And he's here with us today. Steve,
How's it going? I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
no problem, no problem. After 12 takes, I think we got that intro in. Cool.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. It's all good. All good. Right. Cool. So thanks again, Steve, for being a part of this podcast. You're, I think, maybe the fifth or seventh guest, or I sort of lost track. But we're very happy to have you on. We're actually we do business together once in a while, and I just wanted to get you on to get your background and to talk about business and what you have to say in this sphere of business and technology. Sure, you have a lot to say, and we're going to hear that today. So, what's your business, and what do you do in the business?
Sure. So the business name is Attention Trading. It's kind of a play off of, if anybody knows Gary Vaynerchuk. Not that we didn't steal this from him, because his thing is trading attention. So we just kind of flipped that around.
Mhm.
But we had been fans of his for years, and we're like, that sounds like a great name for an agency. So that's kind of what we named it. Um, as an organization, we are both a boutique agency and we are a full service agency.
Mhm.
So we don't hide anything of what we can and can't do here. We're very much a tell people how it is kind of business. Um, yeah, we specialize in graphic design, web development, web design, SEO, SEM, paid media, kind of run the gamut. We have some PR arms within the organization as well. And we just trying to find solutions for all sorts of businesses. We don't have a specific niche. We have clients in all different verticals and categories. And that kind of gives us a really great foundation for what we do and gives us a ton of experience and exposure to how different markets treat different businesses,
Mhm.
so that we can use certain tactics. Like if we work with a moving company, we can use those same tactics for a completely different industry
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with them, right? But it's people are still people, right? You're
Mhm.
still trying to grab their attention or trade their attention,
Mhm.
right? Uh, and it's been wild. We have a bunch of killer people on our team. We are decentralized, so we don't have a single hub or building people go to.
Mhm.
It's all completely digital. And the people that work on your stuff are the people you talk to. So, like, we have a lot of conversations with potential clients, and they're like, okay, now that we're agreed to do this thing, who's my day to day contact? And I'm like, this guy
Mhm.
right here, or Max. or any number of people we work with. They're like, "There's not another thing." I'm like, "No, there's no corporate overlords here.
Mhm.
Like, this is it." Like, the entire company was built on a bunch of individuals who were just very dissatisfied with how they were not being treated at the company they were at, but at an organization where they weren't being fully valued. And I was like, "Hey, like, listen, like, we're doing this. It's very much kind of like a profit share kind of position here. Like,
Yeah.
if we all make really good money, we're all gonna be really happy. We're gonna produce even better products, right? And that's the idea here, right? Like, we're not trying to underpay any individual. If you're worth the thing you're doing, awesome. Let's produce really killer work.
Yeah. Awesome. Um,
Care way more about people than profit. To be very clear.
yeah. That's actually an amazing business model overall, where you're people minded instead of profits minded. Profits are great, but if you don't treat people as it's sort of like the golden rule mixed with, ever heard of the platinum rule?
No.
Ooh, okay. Because school you. So I actually learned this in a networking group that I'm part of, and basically he was talking about the platinum rule is basically, well, first the golden rule: do unto others as you would like to be done unto you. Platinum rule is do to others as they would like to be done unto them. So treat people like they would like to be treated, in other words.
Mm.
And so I think that's a great, mindset to keep in business. And one thing I did want to ask about your business name, Intention Trading. How often do you get people asking about stock tips?
Uh, uh, honestly, never. Like, it's,
No, really?
I well, the thing is that you generally you meet Max or I before you really get to know the brand,
Okay.
which is, probably you meet Max more than you ever meet me because 'cause I'm very much behind the scenes kind of individual.
Hmm.
But, reserve my talents for very much more of an introverted approach in my life. But I mean, no, we don't really get that specific question all that
Hmm.
often. That is a good question though, because like you would definitely think that that was the thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like no, it's not something that comes across.
Yeah, because that was one of the things I'm like, oh, so he's a web designer and he does stock trading in the morning. Day trader.
A little crypto, no
Yeah.
no stocks specifically.
So just to sort of talk about the beginning of your business adventures and like what sort of got you in that, can you sort of take us back to the beginning and what were you doing before you started business?
So, the story's kind of I mean, it goes over the probably the last 15 years or so. Ever since, college, my business partner, Max, and I have been business partners. Maybe not under, like, an official LLC at any given point at the beginning, but, we were business partners through and through throughout college and then post-college. And we honestly started off doing a lot of college-based-esque businesses. We just wanted to try different things. So we actually
Mhm.
started as a calendar company and a bar
Oh,
crawl company.
interesting.
Yeah, that was, which is double interesting because I don't drink whatsoever. So like
Yeah.
being doing bar crawls, like my primary responsibility was really like sponsorships and photography and videography and creative and all that kind of stuff. Kind of the same kind of techie stuff, right? That I
Mhm.
currently do. It was a great foundation. Actually, Max and I met as part of an organization on campus and a fraternity. Before anybody who casts certain terms about fraternities, we were a local fraternity. We did a lot of Special Olympics work, and that's kind of like where the entrepreneurship and business esque things kind of grew from there. Being around those kind of individuals, and then post-graduation, we were still doing bar crawls. We had gone from bar crawls to also doing yoga events, which was called electric yoga, which is kind of like an EDM concert meets a yoga session and trance session. Yeah, those were fun. They were wicked expensive to put on, but they were just those today till this day, they're still one of the favorite events I've ever done.
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of bloomed from there. We were actually gonna do taco events. Funny enough, like we were starting doing a thing called Taco Taste Off
Mhm.
before COVID hit, and then obviously COVID hit, and we flipped
Mhm.
the kibosh on that kind of thing. But um, during that kind of like 2010 to 2014 realm, like I was working at an ad agency full time. Max had gone from working with Versace and working for his family business and a smattering of other businesses. we kinda had to have our 9 to 5. 'Cause, like, again, like, it's just one of those things where you try to build a business,
Yeah.
and you can't necessarily do that, with $0, so you have to do
Mhm.
something, right?
Yeah.
Never impeding, on any of the 9 to 5 stuff we're doing, but nonetheless, spending the extra time and trying to pack as much as you can to get, work done. So, I went from working in an agency where, it was a great life experience. I got exposed to a ton of things from technology to design. I mean, funny enough, even like the first day I started working there, I thought I got hired as a designer
Mhm.
because not that I college, my college degree isn't in design necessarily,
Mhm.
but like it just that's what I did for
Yeah.
the majority of my time. And so I went, and they always set me from a PC and said, "You're going to learn how to code," and I was like, "Oh, cool." And, it just from there kind of blossomed and my experiences grew and had really good mentors,
Yeah.
um, throughout, that experience. And then between then and when I became an entrepreneur, I had joined another organization where I helped that one organization kinda grow and evolve, and it was trying to I was trying to take all the experiences I had and try to see
Mm.
where my chops were, if I could just dedicate all that expertise into one organization.
Mhm.
And then, it just kinda gone from there, like, in 2020, I think it was.
Mhm.
I just said, "You know what? Like, it's way better to have tried and failed at something I loved
Yeah.
than to something that I could just easily get fired from."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And build my own thing. So,
Mhm.
and it's kinda blossomed from there. That's the elevator pitch version of my experience over the last 15 years.
Yeah. So ten floor elevator pitch. Got it.
Mm.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you was about the coding. What kind of coding did you get thrown into, and did you
Oh, man.
stick with most of it?
Well, mostly was, email signatures,
Okay.
coding just like coding email because email in general is very picky and specific, and it's old.
Mhm.
It's very old school HTML, CSS with a lot of really weird rules.
Yeah.
So there was a good kind of trial by fire. That and just like general like website maintenance things you would normally do.
Awesome. And then what was sort of the sparking moment that made you leap into entrepreneurship?
Actually, at the agency I was at, um, which I want to be very specific. Again, great experience.
Mhm.
The owner of that business, a very small company at the time, and I think it's less than 30 people still. Um, I sat down with him and I talked about the money I was making. And he was very blunt with me, and I still appreciate that. And he goes, "Steve, the only way for you to make the money you're asking for or you're looking to make in this life is to make it yourself."
Mm.
And I took that to heart. Like it's still true to this day. If you there's some jobs out there which you can take, and your worth can be dictated in that position, and that's perfectly fine. Like, you can make a 9 to 5, but, like, your kind of future is based on the people around you, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's only so much to go around in a small business. But as kinda, like, taking on entrepreneurship by myself or with Max, um, it would kind of sky's the limit. It's how much effort we put into this is how much money we're gonna make out of it, and
Yeah.
it's more about the money a lot of the time, right? Like, I think the joke in our family is I have all the vacation time and no vacation time at the exact same time. You know,
Entrepreneurship.
ev
Yay.
every day is a vacation day if you want it to be,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you have that thing pulling at you to not do that, right? So
Yeah.
it's you tend to do the complete opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah. And then what
Thanks
do
for the
you
question. I
huh?
want like this with it.
Again, entrepreneurship. Yay.
Mm.
And then what kind of, I guess, work-life balance do you have you what's the question? It's sort of like everyone when you're in self-employment, there's that balance, like you said, of you can either have all the vacation or work all the time. What keeps you in balance to make that, the best you can for you and your wife and your family?
So there's I know even on our podcast, we ask the same question of people, and I think it's a great question because I think there's some people who want to literally strike a balance with check boxes, right? They're like, I spent X time with this person and that person, I did the things, and I fed the kids and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
For me, the balance is taking a litmus test of my life at that given moment, right? So
Mhm.
it's am I happy right now? Are the things that are going on feeding my greater purpose of what I'm trying to do? Do I feel super stressed? And then just kind of measure what I do from that perspective. My wife is extremely kind in that she knows this is what I do, right?
Mhm.
She's happy to support me in every way. Like I went from, which is kind of funny because my role now is a little bit different, but I went from working, 15, 16-hour days where I'd be working in the morning, before dinner, after dinner until 2 a.m. And I've kinda switched that whole thing. I now wake up way earlier.
Yeah.
So I wake up at like 5 o'clock now, 5:30, depending on the day. And then, I go to bed at a regular time. So like
That's good.
in terms of work-life balance, I get everything I'm supposed to get done in my life, and I dedicate an exorbitant amount of time for work because it's the thing I'm trying to build, right? Like, even stupid moments where I'm driving for 30 minutes, like, I'm thinking about something that has to go hand in hand with what we're trying to do. Like, right now, we're trying to build, another business, and I'm trying to think of all the design cues and all the things that kinda go in hand with building that kind of business and the pitfalls that might happen to try to solve those problems before they become bigger problems. So, like, it never ends per se, but, like, as long as I'm happy with who I am at the end of the day and the things that I've done, that's balance to me.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good takeaway. That's a future reel right there. Uh,
Yeah.
cool. So did you, as it pertains to planning, did you have a clear plan, when you figured out what you or were you figuring it out as you went along
No,
for your business?
there was never for the businesses themselves, like, anything we've ever done has just been purely out of just doing the things. Um I think a lot of people get really hung up on finding, and this is probably the same kind of talking point a lot of people are going to say. Everybody gets hung up on the planning part of something. Like they're like, I'm going to try to make sure everything is just so, right? That box is so square, you couldn't find a loose edge on it at all.
Mhm.
And that's not how this works. You have to just say at some point, like, let's just try it and see if it works,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think there's a good parallel to that in like programming. Programming is very specific, right? If you don't do the right thing, that thing breaks, right? But you don't know it's going to break until you start testing it, and that's the real thing here, right? It's like, so that new business we want to do, could we spend a year trying to refine the brand just so and get the exact, the define our parallels and our perpendiculars against other companies and what makes us different and our color swatches and
Mhm.
standing out and the perfect name? Sure, but we're gonna waste an entire year trying to figure out what that is, and it might still fail. So I'd rather just produce the thing, let it go onto the market, and let the market decide, whether that's successful or not.
Mm. Yeah. So, back to sort of the climb in your business. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced early on?
Um, Imposter syndrome.
Mm.
I think that's a big one for a lot of people, right? And I still struggle to that to this day, and Max likes to scream at me for that, and give me tons of encouragement on all the things. And it's not really based on a lack of talent or drive. It's more of a you don't know what you don't know, and I think
Yeah.
that's scarier than anything else. But I mean, Max's dad, funny enough, who's wildly successful, the thing that he always said to us was, stop caring so much because the money will always be there.
Mhm.
As long as you do the right things and you treat people the right way, the money will always be there. And I've always believed in that, and that's been really helpful in a lot of harder, more leaner times. Um, and it keeps you kind of grounded when the more, fuller times where like you don't get too excited about any given thing and you don't get too low about any given thing.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a definitely a good mindset to go off of. But yeah, it's the biggest struggles, I think from anybody who starts is really from a business perspective are the kind of pitfalls you fall into when it comes to business.
Mhm.
Um, Doing your taxes, saving money in estimated taxes is a big one, which I
Mhm.
I tend to encourage a lot of, newer people who are getting into being entrepreneurship. Uh, don't get too hung up on the perfect.
Mhm.
We all wanna do the best we possibly can, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good,
Mhm.
a lot of the time. Just dropping so many, like, little good clips for you here.
Yeah.
But that's a big one, and I still at fault today about that, like, I want something to be just so and perfect and run and functionally be amazing, and we try really hard to do those kinds of things,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, the way that we perceive the product we produce and the way our
Mhm,
clients perceive the products that is produced are very different, you know?
mhm.
We wanna make sure that not only are their needs and their expectations are met, but we exceed theirs by hitting at least, the best that we possibly can do. And that's all we can really ask for out of ourselves and anybody we work with.
That's good. So I'm actually gonna flip yours. For some reason, it starts as mirrored. Can you see the difference? Did it
Can I
change for you?
see? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Now everything's not backwards.
It's backwards for me now.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not backwards for the recording. Yeah. So less editing. I'm trying to do less editing here.
Not doing in post?
No, I don't. I'm still gonna be doing a good amount of post work, but less posts better.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So pertaining to the climb, were there any moments that you want to quit? And if so, what sort of kept you going?
Uh, a little a little thing about me is, I have a really hard time quitting. Um, I was brought up that quitting is not an option. And I don't mean that from a very kind of like overruling parent perspective, but more so that quitting is the easy way out of things, right? And I think, I've read a bunch of David Goggins books, podcasts, and such that he's done. And if you know David Goggins, like
Mhm.
quit's not an option, right?
Yeah.
In the military, like everybody wants to quit, and I'm not military, nor do I even want to even act like this is. I have the same perspective as them,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's so true. It's like the moment you get off the beach and you get a hot shower in the military, you regret not staying there and not enduring the pain, and I have gotten this extremely thick callus for pain and longevity and just trying to do the things the best I possibly can.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just very stubborn when it comes to quitting because I know the moment that quitting feels good is the moment that, not that I failed, but I coulda went further. I
Mhm.
coulda went harder, you know? So, have there been moments where I'm like, "Wow, this is really hard?" Yes. Have I ever thought about quitting? Hell no.
Mhm.
It's not a thing. It's just not. Like, I don't know, it's just in my personality that it's just not an option.
That's awesome. And so was that you're saying you're brought up with that way? Was your dad like that?
Yeah, although I don't think my dad was brought up by at that I don't think my dad was brought up that way specifically. I just think my dad had no choice,
Mm.
right? It's one of those things, like, if I say I grew up with lesser means, my father grew up with 10 times lesser means than I did,
Mm.
right? And it wasn't from lack of my father trying.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things where, and it's funny if a friend of ours, CK, listens to any of this, she identifies with this really well because she also grew up and has done amazing things since she's grown up. And it's kind of like a part of both of our backstories.
Mhm.
Um, in that, the hardest times you ever had are always the things that make you push that much harder, and I think that's what really gets me a lot. Like, I think a lot of my pushing factors in the last 10 years, um, before I saw any sort of success, was that I refused to be that lifestyle ever again,
Mhm.
ever again. Like, I will work until my eyes bleed, or
Mhm.
I will do things the best I possibly can to keep me from that situation ever again in my life. I didn't grow up in squalor, but it
Yeah.
definitely was not easy.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's sort of akin to, on the like, if my dad grew up a certain way or my parent grew up a certain way, and they did certain things um, that you say, "I'll never be like that," kinda thing. But the thing is, it's like, you don't understand what they went through to get that, they got to where they are. And so there's a lot of things that I learned from my parents that they did the best that they could what was available to them. And no matter how hard sometimes you work towards not being like your parents, you're gonna end up being a little bit like your parents, regardless of how much you try. But it's sort of you take the bad with the good, or the good with the bad, whichever way you want to do it, and just make the best out of it. And that's what I try to do with my business and in life. And there are a lot of things that I uh, adopted within my business and within my life. My dad was a photographer
Mhm.
himself. He was an artist. He was a singer. He was a lot of things that I end up being, not really knowing that he was those things actually
Mm.
professionally. And I think it's sort of in your blood. So it's like it's not so much about fighting to not be like your parents or who raised you, but it's sort of like I said, adopting the good and then recognizing the bad and trying to um I don't know, not be that so much, but then recognizing what they went through and then appreciating, everything they went
Oh,
through.
for sure. They're
Yeah.
just examples, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's examples of life experiences that you don't need to live because they did it for you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, there is I mean, not to bring this into, like, the family realm because it is
Yeah.
business, discussion, but,
Mhm.
like, my family and I've told this to a lot of people, my family, if doing drugs was an Olympic sports,
Mhm.
we'd have gold medals lining every web of every house in my
Mhm.
family. Not my immediate family,
Yeah.
thank God, but, like, the family that is around me that
Yeah.
and I think that's what makes even Max and I's bond and the bond I have with a lot of my other friends,
Yeah.
even stronger because, like, I chose my family more than the family that I had growing up, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's just the way it is. So, like, I learned those lessons from siblings and cousins and uncles and aunts. So, like, hey, I don't need to experience that. I see what that did. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay away from that, which goes into another part. Like, I'm actually a part of a men's group, entrepreneurial group called Agora Guild, selfless plug.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and we meet every Thursday, and
Mhm.
I've gotten this question before about how, as an individual, how did you turn out the way you turned out, right? Like,
Mhm.
kind of do the thing. And I've told that story before, and I've said that the biggest thing and the best decision I ever made in my life, amongst adopting my dog and marrying my wife and all the kind of standards, um, was to cancel people out of my life.
Mhm.
Just literally not, not in a malicious way, but just literally say, like, you're not serving a better good for anybody, not for me, not for yourself. And if at some point you decide that you want to be a better person and you want to take that step in becoming stronger and yada yada all the things, I'll
Mhm.
be there to support you. But until then, you got to figure this out
Mhm.
because I don't need this. I don't need any of that. It's this stuff's already hard enough.
Yeah.
You don't need that extra hard.
Mhm. That's tough.
Getting real deep.
Yeah. Especially for people that are family or close to you and, like, to
Mhm.
say something like that, that's necessary. There's actually a book, that I bought. I haven't read it yet, but it's like I read the intro of it, and it's one of those hard books, it's gonna hit you hard, but, like, you're gearing up to read it. You start reading other books and, like, "Okay, I think I'm ready to read this." But it's called Necessary Endings.
Mhm.
And just by the title, it's a business book, and it's about ending certain relationships in order to better yourself, in business and even in personal life.
Oh
Um,
yeah, 100%.
Talking about that a little bit, and you already mentioned about mentors, but did you ever have any mentors, in your community or, personally right now and then, or unexpected support along the way?
Mm, that's a really good question because I could probably use them more than
Mm,
I currently do. Um, I have one that's a little controversial in that when I was at the agency, I had a boss that was directly above me who would help when he needed to,
mhm,
things that I struggled with, and which is kind of goes into who I am now actually quite a bit.
mhm,
Um, we didn't have the best relationship, but at the same time, it was one that was absolutely necessary because I learned a lot from him and other kind of people above me at that time. But I mean, he the way he taught, the way he did certain things, like, were
mhm,
always rubbed me and a lot of people around me the wrong way in the way they were done. And I'm purposely not using names because I don't want
mhm,
to hurt anybody's feelings. But, like, it was both a benefit and a detriment at the exact same time. It
mhm,
definitely stunted my the way that I would grow up in this business quite a bit, and that not having that open resource all the time, or at least having a softer approach at how that stuff is. Like, I think anybody who's trying to learn something the first time, like, to get, hit on the head with, "This isn't right, that's stupid," whatever, those kind
yeah,
of things, doesn't help, but at the same time, like, it forced me to
mhm,
find a new learning path, right? It forced me to go and double down on myself when I had extra time and struggle, where I didn't need to struggle, right?
mhm,
But, I mean, that was a necessity. So it made me much harder, but it also had another benefit. It taught me how to treat people I mentor, right?
Mhm.
Where I do use some of those keys sometimes where I'm if I'm showing someone how to do something, I'm trying to get them to critically think about a problem, only but I'm not doing it in a way where I'm trying to, like, loom over them.
Mhm.
It's more of a I'm like, "I'm gonna show you how to get there, but I need you to think for yourself to
Yeah.
process, and then ask me questions that I can, answer to you, and if you don't know how to do the thing, you have to ask that question." But anyway, so it definitely molded the way I approach, mentorship. And what I say earlier is that, I could use some mentors, like, yeah, 100%. Like, cause like, and I ask people all the time who have done things,
Mhm.
and have been wildly successful, like, "How did you get here?"
Yeah.
You know? I mean, even on our podcast, the last question we ask is like, "Do you think 12-year-old Steve would be doing what
Mhm.
38-year-old Steve is doing today?" And generally, the answer is always no. Like, it's
Mhm.
crazy, but, like, the only way you learn, or a way to learn, uh,
Mhm.
how to get to a certain place, is find someone who has already done it and ask them,
Yeah.
right? And which is why I give away a lot of unsolicited advice
Mm.
to younger devs, younger creatives who
Yeah.
are terrified to take that leap. And I'm like, listen, it's not as scary as you think it is. Like, if you're
Mhm.
okay with eating ramen for a little while, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's one thing I've been learning myself. I'm also part of a men's group, like you talked about before. It's in my church. It's called Forged. Have you watched a movie called The Forge?
I
Or
have
was it?
not.
It's actually really good. It's basically about mentorship, about a young man needing a mentor, and his boss, funny enough, his boss ended up being his mentor, so it's a little weird on that end, but, he ended up being a good support for him, and um, he helped him to straighten out his life kinda thing. And so right now I've been in that group, and it's like 140 dudes, so it's like a legit big thing
Mhm.
happening, and essentially sort of a mentor over like 15 guys in my group, and then I also have other guys aside from that that are mentors. And it's like, yeah, bring them on. I'm always looking for different people because there's different stages in your life and in different kind of things you need a mentor for. I have, mentors for business, for personal life, for marriage stuff, for, very specific, learning how to, like, even if it's like online or through books, you could consider them a mentor. Um, uh, like different podcasts I like to listen to all the time, just because I'm gaining a lot of different information and learning how to do business better and then marriage better and life better. It's all about that, trying to better yourself, trying not to be stagnant and trying to be a better you, and to be uh what's the term to be better for the society that you live in instead of being a weight, you know. And so
Where
So talking about a little bit, so how did your personal life change when you started this journey in business? And then also talking about mentorship, were there any mentors that helped you along that life journey, like aside from the one you already mentioned, um, along the way?
I don't think there was ever a switch.
Mhm.
Because this has I mean, from growing up and playing sports, to going to college and joining so many organizations and being an RA or a CC, whatever they're called at that time, to, joining an organization like, literally right out of college as part of the agency life, and then doing all the things and volunteering for all the stuff and trying to do all the things. I think the need to be better, to be greater in every moment that I took on has always just been something that's always been there. And I it's just played a different part,
Mhm.
right? Like, even from when I was playing baseball in high school, like, I wanted to do better than the people around me because I think
Yeah.
sports really instilled that. Down to, like, now, like, I want every day to be better than I was yesterday, whether that's self-education, if that's, listening to podcasts, if that's reading books, which I have a book recommendation at the end of this
Mhm.
that I love to share, which is just one I tell everybody to read. But I mean, eh, and I would say this, that wanting to be better every day is not, I did 100% yesterday, I need to do 110% today. And then that 110% resets to 100, and then you do it again and again and again. Because I think what people tend to do is they tend to say, Like I get super burnt out because I can't be perfect every single day. And I don't think it's about that. I think it's about if you had 50% to give today and you gave 51%, killed it.
Mhm.
Right? Like, that's so much more important because you can't hold yourself onto this perfection scale because 'cause you'll
Mhm.
fail every single time. I just know that and this kinda goes hand in hand with my health journey as well. Um, there's days I don't wanna get on the Peloton. There's days I don't wanna lift weights. There's days I don't wanna do any of that stuff. But if I just get started, then I did way more than I thought I was gonna do today, right? And that's good enough. That's perfect enough. Um but from the mentorship, portion of this, I mean, I find inspiration and mentorship, mentors in all walks of life. I don't have anybody explicitly. I don't have, like, someone I either pay or
Mhm.
someone that's, like, a coach, or I don't have, like, anybody in my family who's a sage or elder that's
Mhm.
like, I go to them for advice on a regular constant basis. Um, uh, I think my business partner, Max, and we tend to do it to each other a lot because he's got a ton of experiences in one side of life, and I got like I think if you were to measure Max and I up individually, like,
Mhm.
we're very, very, very different people.
Mhm.
Extremely different people, but we all both have which is works really well for each other,
Mhm.
right? Because I see things in a completely different light than he does,
Yeah.
which gives us a bunch of different perspectives. But I think we're
Mhm.
sort of a mentor for each other, a lot. And then, the men's group that we're a part of, like, we again, like, it's like you have experience, right? It's the same thing with you kinda gain mentorship
Yeah.
from people, um and I wanna be clear, like, mentor doesn't mean older
Mhm.
either, Like, it definitely could be from a younger individual who just, again, has a different perspective
Yeah.
than you do about something, and I think that's extremely important, is
Mhm.
having perspective.
Hold on one second. I just wanted to interject here. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, and follow wherever you're watching this or listening to this so that we can continue to bring these quality business owners telling their stories and bringing you the content that you so crave. Now, let's get back to this interview. And then with all that, um, how did you keep things going when the hype and the newness of business sort of wore off and you start recognizing, "Oh, this is what real business ownership means." What sort of kept you in that?
I think because, I think the standard trope of doing the thing you love most feels like the least amount of effort,
Mhm,
definitely rings true. I think that in all the things that I can do, right? Design, develop, coach, strategy, whatever those things are.
mhm,
I have found like the kind of the sweet spot, the things I love doing, and I've just found other people to do the things that technically I can do that, but I don't love doing that, and that's
mhm,
made it a lot easier. And I also think again, like I'll plug Max to the cows come home. Like it's literally we push each other a lot, right? Like
mhm,
we keep each other accountable for the things we say we're gonna do, and we the newness doesn't go away because really because of our clients.
mhm,
And kind of going back to we don't have a standard number or a standard type of industry we work in, and that keeps
mhm,
things fresh and new and exciting. Um, yeah, and I think the thing that gets me really excited about everything is that
mhm,
I'm your standard people pleaser.
mm.
So like with the need to have to serve and do highbrow work comes with making people happy, and that's the high you're constantly chasing is trying to get
Yeah,
people to as happy as possible with the things you're producing, and that
yeah,
keeps it fresh and exciting for me.
yeah. And that's sort of in the same about that. I in my businesses, I do real estate photography, video, weddings, selfish plug, it's my podcast, whatever. Um, so I actually started, I'm gonna get back into wedding photography. Uh, and it's not just me though. The reason why I'm doing that because I'm getting a lot of I'm sure you got this too. That's why I work for you sometimes is you get sort of requests, hey, do you guys do video? Do you guys do video? Do you guys do video? And so, you called me. But I get a lot of people requesting, hey, you guys do what? You guys do wedding photography. You do wedding photography. It's like we mainly do wedding videos, but I have some referrals and everything like that. And so I have this a couple wedding photographers that they're willing to work directly with my company. And so just to sort of the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I like to keep things fresh. I like to keep things new. That's why I'm in technically three industries, real estate, weddings, and commercial corporate kind of work, just to keep things different instead of stagnant. Because even though weddings are great, they can be great, but they're not always
Mhm.
great. Even though real estate could be great, but it's not always great. And so it's just I like to mix things up a little bit, keep things alive, because you can get stagnant in certain industries. And it's like with the commercial or corporate kind of work, like you said, it's just I get business from all sorts of different walks of life for creating videos or video production for different kind of work. It's fun, and I enjoy it, and I prefer it that way,
Yeah,
versus
you
like
could be
uh
doing a wedding on Tuesday and
yeah,
then shooting golf balls on Thursday,
yeah, filming a golf course.
Right.
Yeah.
It it definitely makes it definitely beats a 9 to 5
Oh yeah,
every single day in an office, right?
yeah.
And you want some excitement in your life
Mhm.
with a tinge of anxiety on a regular and constant basis, capture weddings.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually where I met you. We shot a wedding together, at, Bill Miller's, the darkest
Mhm,
venue in Connecticut. Um,
mhm. But
Probably not the
beautiful.
darkest. I
No,
think it's yeah, I think it's the darkest, but it's the most beautiful. If you want like
it's
a
very nice.
classic castle kind of vibe with candlelight, everything. It's a great venue. I think I'm
And no
very happy.
ghosts. There's no ghosts
Um,
there.
huh? There's
I said
ghosts?
it I said it, no ghost, right?
The ghosts. This one. His name is Bill. Cool. So plugging along. So how has your definition of success changed since you started? I'm sure you had an idea of what you thought success was, and now I'm sure it's wildly different. You sort of alluded to it a little bit, but how would you sort of explain that for how you view it right now?
I think the best success I've ever had is peace of mind.
Mm,
Um, Not to go back to the childhood side of things,
mhm,
when you don't have a lot of stability, having stability is a drug in its own right.
mm,
And I think just being able to sit and go, everything's fine. Life is good. There's nothing I need to, there's no bill that's gonna, kill me one day. I'm not gonna, have a lot of, ups and downs. And then that has helped a lot. So to me, as long as I can wake up in the morning and know that everything is on an even keel,
mhm,
that's success. I don't need 17 cars. I don't need extremely lavish vacations. I
mhm,
mean, my wife and I, we literally vacation in Texas. Like, don't love their politics, but at the same time, we have family members there who we are so close to, and we spend every moment we can there and in Maine. But like, we don't go anything lavish. So like, that's not success to me. Success to me is going out to dinner with my friends in Texas and paying the bill for everybody
mhm.
because A, it's a tax write-off because it's a business trip
Yeah, yeah.
at all times. Uh, but also because it allows me to show or to give to people I care most about,
Mhm,
a great time out. No one has to worry about it. Like I know that the work and effort I put in affords me the ability to do this and to do random acts of kindness.
yeah.
Buy coffee for someone who doesn't know what's happening.
Mhm,
I own a Jeep, so like if for those who have Jeeps, there's a thing called ducking.
yeah.
That's what a ducking. Um, where you take a rubber duck and you put it on another Jeep's handle of their Jeep, and it's quirky and it's
That's what
fun.
that's about. I had no
That's what
idea.
it's about. Yeah, it's been a long. I think my wife looked up the tradition. It's longer than I think the internet says, but
Mhm,
it's little acts of kindness like that that's what makes me excited,
mhm,
right? Like I've always said to my wife, if we ever became like super wealthy, I'm talking like the interest rate on the money that we had paid for everything and more, I
mhm.
just start handing it out. Like even joking like to my family and friends, like we're gonna buy a cul-de-sac, we're gonna buy a bunch of Hummers, and we're gonna play tag. Or we're gonna but we don't need that kind of stuff. I think I'm more in the realm of like I want to pay for all the college tuitions of, all of my family members' kids because I could, right? Like that gets me excited. Like
Yeah.
to be able to do those kinds of things because having stuff, I'm in a 11 to 100 square foot home. This
Mhm.
is fine,
Mhm.
Like I think everybody else's happiness around me is valued way higher and gives me a sense of success more
Mhm.
so than having a Porsche in the driveway,
Yeah.
you know?
What's his name? I'm trying to remember one of the richest guys, richest, billionaire, something, something. Anyway, one of the richest guys in the world, in America, owns like a 2,000 square foot home because he just it's that's life to him.
You talking about Buffett,
Yeah.
who drives like a Cadillac and a
Yeah.
small home, yeah, and gets
Yeah.
McDonald's breakfast every morning, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, doesn't need it.
Yeah. So
I
sad.
rather I rather see everybody around me having a great time stress-free than I would to spend, a month at Bali with my wife,
Mhm.
in my opinion, you know?
Nice. That's awesome. Have you ever had to shut something down, or walk away from a business venture or even with a client?
Um, so I think any job I ever left, I think technically qualifies. There's been I honestly been very fortunate. I think there's been 3 in my entire life, like from the age of 15 or 14 or whenever I was working before it was legal age.
Mhm.
Um,
Child labor? Yeah.
yeah. Hey, listen, everybody's a busboy every now and again. Um, but I mean, there's nothing that jumps out at me that says that I was in a 5 alarm fire and I needed to go. I
Mhm.
think because I tend to measure expectations about what a situation is
Mhm.
before things become a problem, and then usually there's the natural, the, attrition of a relationship just runs a natural course and comes to a natural end.
Mhm.
Um, we are very fortunate as an organization, as attention trading that we haven't lost a lot of clients. A lot
Mhm.
of clients that we have lost, which people like to talk about their wins, and I think the losses are a better definition. A lot of them have just been like organizations that ran out of cash, right?
Mhm.
They themselves weren't, the best at doing business, and that's okay, and they did the best they could, and they just couldn't do it anymore, right?
Mhm.
We've lost a couple of clients, but, like, a lot of times it's not I like to say, knock on wood, it's not directly due to our lack of effort or inability,
Mhm.
but more so probably the business itself, or 9 times out of 10, it's a lack of communication, which is probably a
Mhm.
big one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a huge one. Mm. The only reason I think of that one is 'cause that's more recent.
Mhm.
But, you can only do so much,
Mhm.
I can't give someone else my experience. I can't show them like, "Hey, like, I did, 50,000 hours worth of work to make this just so and just perfect," because really their perception is the only reality that's gonna happen.
Yeah. And, talking about experience, what did experience teach you about failure or even about yourself?
Failure, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm okay with failure for the most part. Um, I like to remind myself that, uh, not to again go deep on these kinds of things,
Mhm.
and this kinda goes back to the whole not getting too high, not getting too low. Uh, Taking religion out of the equation for a hot second.
Mhm.
You're a sack of water on a rock, hurtling through space at an exorbitant amount of speed, chasing a sun. Is it that big of a deal?
Mm.
Is it that bad? And then also something that funny enough, Tom Hanks, who's a national treasure, something Tom Hanks said, he goes, "Things going great or things going terribly bad, this too shall pass.
Mhm.
Things going really good and everything in the world is
Mhm.
perfect, this too shall pass."
Yeah.
So like it's every failure I've ever had, I just have to try to remind myself that it's only gonna last so long
Yeah.
before the next one comes around the corner, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of like when you think of time and how much time we as a human race we already went through, 100 years is probably the max most people would ever live, 120 maybe, and it's like, that is a blip. That's like,
Yeah.
what's a measurement within a couple bars within a tree ring. It's like, if you look at it, it's like, that's your life in comparison.
It's a rounding error on a big set, a data set, like, it's literally how short it is.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where you just everything in the world can feel like it's crashing around you.
Mhm,
This too shall pass.
mhm,
You'll be fine.
yeah. Talking about fear, um, how how do you deal with fear, doubt, or burnout?
Um, there's very few things I fear, one of which is the dark, which is a fun one. Just who I am, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm,
Which probably translate into the unknown, but we'll leave that where it is.
mhm,
Um, uh, doubt. I don't want to say that I'm a cocky individual, but like I will say if there's a way someone else has done the thing, I can also figure out how to do the thing.
mhm,
Right? Like there's all I need is time and pressure. That's it, and things will come out the way I need it to happen. Um,
you sound
uh
like a villain.
well, time and pressure makes diamonds, so there's that. That's kinda
Yeah,
what I'm stealing that from, but
yeah,
so you had fear, doubt, what was the 3rd one?
burnout.
Burnout. Oh, that's a good one. Um, Burnout is extremely real. Um, I'm probably going through it right now
Mhm.
because you just like I say to people who are trying to satisfy everybody all at the exact same time, like, "Listen, stop, you're not pizza. You can't make everybody happy. It's not gonna happen." Um, but, uh, I don't have an answer for burnout. I don't have a solution for not causing burnout. I would say that meditation helps me a lot.
Mm,
It I think every morning I wake up, like, my mind is just racing right as I wake up. Like, all the things that have to happen, all the things I gotta get done, and as soon as I, like, go through the morning stuff, and I sit down in my office, and sit down to meditate for 10 minutes, that 10 minutes, I never wanna do it, and every time I'm done doing, I'm so
yeah,
glad I did it, right?
mhm,
That's a nice reset that gets me kinda going in the morning. Um, but I would and this kinda goes back to the not worrying about everything and just letting things happen.
yeah,
Burnout for me happens a lot where I'm just stressing over not achieving the arbitrary goal someone else set based off of some arbitrary outcome, and I'm like, "None of this matters. None of this matters." Like, we're all trying to do our absolute best at the exact same time, and if someone doesn't realize that or recognize that, that's not on me.
yeah,
Not on me, you know? Um, but, like, for in terms of this burnout in general, you just gotta do something other than the thing you're doing. Like, I go on Peloton, I ride my bike when the weather's
oh,
better,
yeah,
go for a walk my dog, pet my dog,
mhm,
those kind of things. Um, yeah, it's definitely a hard one. I don't think anybody has an answer other than those kind of standard answers,
mhm,
you know?
yeah, and then sort of winding down a little bit, looking back, what advice would you give to your past self? Little Stevie.
Little I don't think Stevie's ever been little. Um, uh, I mean, both physically and mentally, only because, I've always been a 9-year-old man at some point. Best advice, I mean, this too shall pass feels, a little too, uh, on the nose,
Mhm,
but, I mean, I would say that at any point, like, this gets better, um, it's probably a good one. Even if I can just give, like a glimpse of how this goes, only because, like, I think in my life, I keep thinking that it's gotta get better, it's gotta get better, things have to get easier, why is this always so hard? And I have to stop and go, right now where I'm currently sitting, if I knew this was gonna happen in 2011 when I first started working professionally or I graduated college with a mountain of debt,
mhm.
um, like, I would've been like, that's not a thing, it wouldn't happen." I mean, I mean, I would just say that it gets better. Because it has. I mean, I think I think this happens for a lot of people. We keep chasing something, but that something keeps changing every time you achieve it. Like I think I had a PC when I first started. All I ever wanted was a MacBook.
Mhm,
Okay, and then it went to photography. I got a Canon Rebel. All I
mhm,
ever wanted was a mirrorless, or I wanted a full frame mirror camera, right?
mhm,
And I got that, and I got a mirrorless one, and I was like, I had a Mercury as a car. I was
mhm.
like, all I ever wanted was a Jeep, and then I got that Jeep, and then I got a better one, and I go,
Yeah.
like everything just gets progressively more and bigger, right? The things you want to chase, and you have to just sit and go, this is great. What I
Mhm,
have right now is great. I mean, my wife and I are literally packing, right? Because we're moving soon, and
mhm,
I even said famously to a friend, like downstairs, we have a small porch, and it's
mhm,
packed full of boxes,
mhm.
and I'm like, I could burn. Can I swear on this podcast? Is that a thing? Hope you let I don't. Okay, I won't say it.
Okay.
Uh, I have a porch full of stuff, and I could burn all that stuff. It'd be perfectly fine.
Mm,
Perfectly fine. I don't need any of that stuff. I don't need stuff behind me. I don't need this exorbitant amount of screens in front of me, even though it's very nice.
mm,
Um, I don't need any of the stuff. But like
mhm,
it's things will get better. No matter how bad it currently is, especially currently where we're living,
mm.
things will get better.
Awesome. So I assume you're moving into a bigger home?
I have to accommodate my father
Different.
because he's gotten a bit older. Yeah, so
Okay.
we had to buy something that was a little bit bigger so that we could
Mhm.
accommodate him.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, what's one misconception people have about starting or running a business?
That it's as easy it is and is as hard it's gonna get.
Mm,
Um, Starting a business now, um, and I'll kind of segue into like what we actually do a little bit because I think
mhm.
that's a little bit more relevant.
Yeah.
Um, w- to start a business is super easy. You can go online and start an LLC in 2 days, if not
Mhm,
faster at this point, right? Like
mm,
whatever kind of online platforms let you do the things. You can do all the things. Now there's now Canva, there's
mhm.
ChatGPT. Like you could ask all the questions.
Okay.
I think that stuff is what's that?
I said, "Oh god." That's a bunny trail.
Yeah, there's so many
Yeah.
fast solutions to do something,
Mm,
right? To whatever it is.
yeah.
And I think that parallels quite a lot with a conversation that we have internally a lot. And I think a lot of agencies have this kind of conversation. And it's mostly around websites.
Mm,
There are a billion ways to build websites these days.
mhm,
15 years ago, like you had to hire somebody, like you'd have a choice to get things on the internet. Now you've got the Squarespaces and the Wix, and even Canva has their own thing. And now ChatGPT, you can ask it a few basic questions,
mhm,
and it'll get you along the way. Um, and I think that's a hard fact because that's super easy, right?
mhm,
To a certain degree, that's pretty easy.
mhm,
The hard part is the grit and the tenacity it took to learn how to do those things
mhm,
so that they actually differentiate you as a business.
mhm,
That is incredibly difficult. The Anybody can ask ChatGPT, "Give me a headline that is SEO optimized,"
mhm,
and it will answer you, right? It might not be the perfect thing, but it will give you an answer and make you warm and fuzzy. My prediction with AI, not that you asked for it, is that everybody is gonna start sounding the same,
Yep.
and you're gonna have to have the actual chops to make yourself sound different. Because
Mhm,
what's gonna end up happening is because everybody sounds the same, just like Canva did,
mhm,
a couple years ago when it came out, it said everybody's gonna start looking exactly the same because
mhm,
everybody's gonna use the templates that rise to the top, the cream of the crop in terms of templates and designs, and
yeah.
everybody look the same. The things that are gonna differentiate people are the people who have the actual skills to do the things.
Yeah.
The hard part is convincing companies that the easy thing is not the answer.
Mhm,
That's the hardest part because it's so easy for them to go, "Why? I can prompt ChatGPT connected to Canva to go make me a design and boom, that's solved." And that is the case. Like, you wanna make an Easter post for the holiday? Awesome. Do it all day long.
mm,
You wanna try to define your brand, differentiate you against your competitors, and find an original voice?
mhm.
Good luck. That takes skill.
That takes attention trading. Plug.
It's a yeah. It takes a lot of uh, a lot of skill.
Yeah. And that's where I'm recognizing even with, I forget this one program, I know of a wedding photographer that he started a AI culling program, you probably know it, um, but he told me while I was filming a wedding, was photographing it, uh, a as he was in that business for AI, one of the first businesses to cull and edit, pictures, uh, using AI, he said there are very few, businesses that would be able to compete with AI, one of which is wedding photography. Anything that has to do with direct relational kind of things. And so that sort of felt, a bit like, um, job security because it's about that personability. It's about differentiating yourself and, where a program could you could only compute so much, reality into a program for it to feel like it's a real thing or a real
Mhm.
person, and that's what I'm also recognizing when I'm tempted to use ChatGPT to write an email, do something like that. I'm like, "But it doesn't sound like me."
Right.
It's not even using the words I would use, so I'm like, I scrap it and I think for 2 seconds, and write that email and make it more personal and really connect with that person. I think that's one of the things that we have to unfortunately, I think AI is gonna I think it's gonna go the way of the bell bottoms, where it was a thing for a season. People may come back to it later on, but I'm using it more for data, compiling. Like,
Mhm.
instead of spending half an hour to try to find all the phone numbers of all the, I don't know, like event property managers or whatever, I could just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me all the email addresses or phone numbers or whatever," and boom, it's done. And so that's how I'm using it more so instead of creating art. Um, and that's one of the things that I was doing a lot of art through ChatGPT and AI, which is great to a point. I know of, graphic designers and logo creators that they'll use it as a template, and then from there move on to actual creating.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's super creepy most of the time. AI.
I'll say this, that, and I know this in the beginning, AI will only ever be as good as the person prompting it,
Mhm,
right?
that's true.
Because it's, and I honestly feel, and I think this, not to talk about our education system, but the worse you treat teachers, the worse you treat schools, the more you try to treat the education system as the bad guy,
Mhm.
the lower the education level in any country is gonna go down, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna dumb down individuals,
Mhm,
and the more you rely on AI and other third party services to do the hard thinking for you,
mhm.
the higher individuals who have critical thinking skills, who have the actual hard skills are gonna go, right? Because
Yeah.
we're gonna know how to prompt it, because to be very frank, ChatGPT in my hands
Mhm,
versus ChatGPT in my wife's hands
mhm.
is a very different thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, I like, and that's no, that's it's we're just in completely different
Mhm.
industries, right? Like, where it would never play a role for what, well, not yet, right? For her, but, and not to say my wife is not intelligent, she is very intelligent. It's just one of those things where it's just a different tool for different people,
Yeah.
right? I think that the more people rely on it, the more numb they're gonna get to thinking critically about the things they're required to ask of it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the bigger differentiator
Mhm.
as we go.
Yeah, and that's the bigger question of I've recognized, in the past on how I was using ChatGPT instead of using critical thinking, thinking for myself, creating for myself, writing for myself. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't. I don't want to make this as a crutch, and then all of a sudden I have no signal, and then I can't connect, and then I can't whatever.
Right.
So this wasn't an AI podcast, but there it was. So what's next for you, Steve?
So, Max and I are creating another business. We, not that, it's not in replacement of attention trading. It's one of those things where as an organization, him and I have both identified that there is a ton that we can do for a service industry.
Mhm,
So like, we have worked with cleaners and movers and construction companies and all those kind of things. And we're sitting here going like we have all these ideas that we want to be able to give them, right? But they tend to be long and arduous and hard to do and hard to manage kind of ideas.
mhm,
Only because it takes a lot of content creation, it takes a lot of curation. Like it just becomes very expensive. And
mhm,
when you have very small margins in the service-based industry, I understand it's hard to spend all that money and budget on an ad agency to try to produce the stuff for you. So Max and I were just like, "Hey, why don't we just create a company that's service-based, and then we can apply everything we can think of towards this thing from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, and
mhm,
see if it works, right? Let's create a brand fast and hard. Let's try to get it out into the market. Let's see if it's successful. And then let's do all the little sort of inside things that we know we can do to see if we can grow this thing as an industry. And that's what we're currently working through right now. We're working through the brand portion of this. We've already got kind of our ducks in a row in terms of creating the S Corp and LLC or whatever we're gonna kind of put this into.
mhm,
um, uh, we're leveraging a lot of our past experiences. I think we've done that with every business we've created, which I wanna debunk something really quick. If you think you're gonna create one business and that's the thing you're gonna be really successful in, oh, you are so wrong. You are s This is number 6,
yeah,
7, in the 15 years, 20 years Max and I have been friends and business partners.
mhm,
But the goal is to create this thing, and to, see how it works in the market, and then
yeah,
let the market tell us whether or not this is successful or not.
yeah.
So, super excited about that. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome, excited for you. So, any words, for someone listening who's just, started their own journey in business? Any kind of advice for them?
Yeah. Appreciate the suck. Which is a great way to start this whole thing if you wanted to get some clickbait going.
Mhm,
Or embrace the suck because like this stuff sucks a lot.
mhm,
You get punched in the face every single day from every single angle, and you just have to be okay with it because ultimately, like, if this, not to quote again Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own, but if it's the hard that makes it great. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's the things about this that are, and if everybody could do it, they would, you
mhm,
know? That's You have to be okay with it. When things get hardest, just be super excited. Be like, "Hey, I'm feeling something. Things are going hard, but, like, at least I'm doing it," right?
mm,
Embrace the suck.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, automatically, I started hearing the song, "You Got a Friend in Me." Toy Story.
Yeah.
That's great. That's on your, I don't know, somewhere.
I'm about to owe money to I'm gonna owe money to Tom Hanks after this podcast for I said his name so many times.
Cool. You wanted to mention a book?
Yeah, 100%. Um, so, um So Max and I had started reading a book. If you haven't noticed yet, Max and I are very close individuals to each
Mhm,
other and best friends. Um, uh, Unreasonable Hospitality is the hands down one of the best books I have ever read. The entire premise of the book is to do far more for your customers than they could ever expect. And I'm not talking about like discounts. I'm not talking
mhm,
about like the standard business things like being in high communication. Like those are just standard things you should do.
mhm,
I'm talking about, and we advise clients on a regular and constant basis. If you do things for customers that is completely unexpected,
mhm,
they will stay with you forever.
mhm,
So the book basically goes over, Will, who's the writer and kind of the main, a person in the whole book, worked at a number of Michelin star restaurants, and, he basically said, like, at some point, like, we need to do something above and beyond because, like, we need to be able to differentiate ourselves from all the Michelin star restaurants around us.
mhm.
They started doing little things for people. Have you ever seen The Bear, the TV show? The Bear?
Another restaurant there.
And yes, it's a show based on, I guess, on that restaurant in Chicago. Uh,
Mhm,
Same premise where, like, there's a couple at this, again, a really hard restaurant to get, tickets to or to get a seating at.
mhm.
Um,
You need tickets for the
and
restaurant? Holy
well,
cow.
that's what editing's for.
Yeah.
Um So, it's really hard to get a seat there. So, like, one of the waiters had overheard a table saying, "You know what? We came to Chicago, we ate some of the best food in the world, but it didn't have a hot dog." Or whether from Chicago, this time is from New York, because it was Will's experience.
Mhm.
And then we didn't have, like, a New York City hot dog. And someone overheard that. Someone literally ran out of the building, went and got a vendor hot dog, dressed
Mhm.
it up as a five-star dish, and give like, that right there, or even the example of, like, someone's like, "Hey, we didn't get to see the beach." So they
Mhm.
really poured sand and made a beach scene for a guest when they showed up, like, going just a little bit above and beyond for somebody. We have friends, or we have, people we work with or clients of ours, and, whose animal passed away,
Mhm.
and we'll do something for them. We'll send them something. We'll do something that's completely away from advertising. It has nothing to do with marketing, nothing. It has to do with being a person,
Yeah.
and it's not about doing better business or
Mhm.
getting them to remember you as a business. It's about being a human being
Yeah.
first. And that's 10 times more important than any design, any website. It's people are always going to remember how you treated them
Yep.
every single time.
So treat people like people. It's good.
That's right. Back to the golden and the platinum rule.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah. So where can people connect with you and support your business?
For sure. So attentiontrading.com, spelled exactly what it sounds, is a big one on all the platforms. We also have a podcast called the Attention Trading Podcast,
Mhm.
which is about all the available streaming services, just like this one is.
Mhm.
Um, and we're also on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the social mediums and Instagram and what have you. And you can always call Max. He's gonna on the website. Feel free to call him.
Awesome. Alright, cool. Well, Steve, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Any last words?
Just be a human, man. That's it. Just treat people really well, and all this other stuff will be so much easier.
Awesome. Well, that's it.